itself and my vision of enterprise networking. IT is really supported by several layers of services. You first have the access services. They must be ubiquitous and meet the needs of all your locations, of people who are traveling and of those that are working at home. Second, you really need a platform for your applications, and in my mind, that's MPLS VPN. Above that is the application infrastructure that includes things like hosting and storage services. Above that will sit your applications, things like voice over IP, but also SAP and other applications you might have. To be effective, this stack needs to be dynamic and meet all the needs of the enterprise as it grows and changes. Simplified with one network that can support all the converged applications. It needs to be application aware because as you get more applications on the same network, you really want the applications to work well and the network to be tuned to those applications. An example of this is really how AT&T built our voice over IP service. The voice over IP service is built on top of the global IP MPLS network with VPN as the base. The underlying network really helps voice over IP and is really critical to the success of voice over IP. MPLS offers numerous benefits, including quality of service, network scalability through any-to-any connectivity, and security through IP VPNs. The voice over IP connectivity layer is built on top of the MPLS VPN, and therefore it has access to the access technologies that are on MPLS VPN. MPLS, the network, could also help measure and optimize the performance of the voice over IP application. Going forward, I think a lot of other applications will be built in the same way. Although many things will change in the future, one will stay the same. MPLS VPN will be the platform for converged applications. It will be the platform because it has many benefits that really help converged applications. Things like any-to-any connectivity, being able to get to the application wherever you are in the world. Access consolidation allows you to move from multiple access circuits for different applications to single consolidated access circuits. It has a simplified web-based operations infrastructure. Class of service allows you to prioritize certain applications over others. And there's really ease of network expansion as you move new locations onto the network. They just plug in and get access to the network any place it is in the world. You also don't need to worry about CPE-based tunneling and encryption equipment and software. MPLS also supports plugins for things like video gateways, voice gateways, remote access, network-based firewalls, and other services over IP. So now that many of you are moving or have moved to MPLS VPN, it's time to look at the next level of functionality. Well, as you might expect, there are a lot of very exciting things happening in this area that will add value to your MPLS VPN network. I'm going to talk about a few of these today. As I said earlier, it's critical to have the underlying access to meet your location needs. One addition to this in the future will be to allow mobility through different wireless technologies and be able to put together wireless and wireline technologies seamlessly. This will support an increasingly mobile network. In the past, there's also been a lot of debate about where intelligence belongs. Does it belong in the network? Does it belong on the premises? Well, in some cases, I really think the answer will be both. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things where intelligence really does belong in the network. The next thing really is as you move to an environment with multiple applications on the same network, how those applications perform on the network becomes critical. The network needs to be application aware, and I'll talk a little bit about the application aware network. And lastly, you have the converged applications. So not only do you have the kind of applications you might have had today, but new applications will come out. You'll be able to move voice and video on the same network as data. So I'll talk a little bit about converged applications. So as a start, let's talk about the Anywhere VPN. Users need access to their data any place they are in the world. So remote access is really key. Remote access capabilities continue to grow with single client access to many technologies, from DAO to broadband to Wi-Fi. In the future, we'll also be able to move from one to the other and seamlessly between wireless and wireline. This really allows the use of the least expensive access and some additional portability and presence-based services. To support access from anywhere, AT&T provides a global footprint with a broad range of technology, speed, protocol, and SLAs matched to your applications. The ability to provide the best location-specific solution through a single client. A single portal providing the visibility and management tools you need to manage your network. And options for resiliency, redundancy, and high availability when you need them. Wireless is always an interesting area, and we're seeing increases in speed and functionality. However, many of today's providers use proprietary or pre-standard solutions and equipment. As the workforce becomes even more mobile, the need for seamless mobility becomes increasingly important. There are several technologies that are moving convergence into the forefront. The first is really wireless LANs. They've been around for some time, but we're beginning to see them being more prevalent and more scaled to the enterprise. The second is mobile networks are moving up in speed and with better quality. Services like voice over IP are beginning to move to wireless. Next, devices that really can use either multiple wireless or wireline technologies are becoming available. And the last is really the standard IMS, which really pulls all this together for convergence. There's still a way to go here, but these are really the kind of technologies that will make wireless and wireline convergence even more tangible in the future. So next, let's talk about network intelligence. Network intelligence really means a richer environment for you to have your applications. You will see the addition of functions that will increase the network ability to be more dynamic than it has been in the past. The first of these is really multicast. Multicast itself has been around for some time, but what we're really beginning to see is the use of multicast in the network, and we're beginning to see customers utilize this technology over MPLS. An example of this is really with video. Video often causes spikes in traffic that are often hard for networks to handle. Multicast can help here. The way multicast works over MPLS VPN is as follows. The customer wants to do a video broadcast at location 1. That customer is the source and really sends one copy of the multicast stream into the network. At number 2, the ingress router on the provider edge encapsulates the multicast packet with a multicast VPN header and sends it along. The MPLS network then replicates and forwards a copy of the encapsulated multicast packet to each PE serving the customer's multicast VPN. Egress router then removes the multicast VPN packet header, replicates it, and forwards it on to the users that need it. Doing video this way saves bandwidth at the source location and allows good performance to the end users. All right, let's talk a little bit about security in a converged environment. Security services are very prevalent today on the edge of the network, but not really in the network itself. As we move forward, security will exist both on the edge and in the network, and really you need to be able to blend together that functionality. In particular, there are some functions that might make more sense if done in the network. The network solution is normally a fully managed solution, and you can achieve a very cost-effective solution which provides additional intelligence by the advanced correlation of data that the service provider can perform. For example, network-based security can proactively protect customer networks by detecting the presence of an attack in the internet before it really affects your business. We're able to block malicious packets real time while allowing the flow of legitimate traffic to continue. We can stop the attack in the core network before it chokes off your access pipe or routers. And it really allows us to integrate with predictive and early warning capabilities to provide immediate notification of malicious activity and recommend mediation services early in the process. This really allows you to have a very cost-effective service and at the same time something that works very quickly in a converged environment. Routing today is set up statically on an MPLS network. Routes are then determined by each router in the network based on network parameters. This really is a very good solution for many applications, but can we do something to do this better? Well, within AT&T, there's a technology becoming available that will allow more granular routing at the IP routing control plane. This allows a whole new suite of services. Some of those service capabilities are protecting your environment through new ways to more granularly black hole and scrub traffic during security breaches. Being able to set up and tear down a VPN dynamically as it's needed, potentially between you and some of your suppliers. And the third is drying out traffic on a network connection before that element is shut down for maintenance. What that allows you to do then is move mission-critical traffic before the maintenance occurs. This allows the network to be more dynamic and application aware to meet the changing needs of you and your end users. MPLS is really a great platform for convergence. As more applications are added to the network, you want to make sure you have the visibility and control of the applications to meet your end user needs. In the old days, frankly, you could have communications and IT in different organizations and really with very different goals than they have today. Following along with the theme of convergence, these areas are also converging into network-centric computing. The view here is that you now have the network, hosting, storage, the end users all tied together on one network infrastructure. As you move to things like utility computing that can reduce intervals so you don't have to really wait for equipment purchases, it allows for things like virtualization. An example of that is VMware for servers. The operating system thinks it is one physical server, but it's emulating software instead. This allows the running of multiple applications on a single physical server and saves space and power. Moving up the stack to application-aware network management, you can see what applications are running and what resources are being used. This enables new applications like email archiving to be deployed on the network. This is really a step to the ultimate goal of utility grid computing, dispersed computing using standards like IMS and distributed throughout the network. So what do you really get with utility grid computing? Well, the first is you really see a quicker response time and more flexibility, since there are really more options in how you can get computing resources quickly. Today, there is usage-based pricing for some bandwidth, and I think you'll see more of that in the server realm going forward. On-demand provisioning, the hotel model, allows shared resources dynamically provisioned. Utility tiered storage lowers the risk and controls the cost of storage, which is becoming one of the major costs of most companies. And the last is global dispersion throughout the network that really allows your users better access and allows you to deal with disaster recovery. We have gone through several phases as MPLS has gained in popularity and functionality. And now as we move forward, what you'll see, the first step is that your users need access to their applications wherever they are in the world, and we just talked a little bit about that. But next you need a network that can be managed and controlled with sophisticated network management. This will give the view into the network as well as provide functions like e-billing and e-maintenance. After you do the access anywhere and have your network management in place, the next thing you really want is the application-aware network. What this allows you to do is, as you move to a more converged environment, do things like converging your network applications, do data center consolidation, and try to optimize your bandwidth and other resources in a dynamic IT environment. If you look at application performance management on an MPLS network, it really follows somewhat of a trajectory. The first step is often starting with professional services. When you do that, a box may be put on your premises. It'll simulate and measure various things like class of service scenarios, traffic flows, etc. The professional service team will then make recommendations on changes to better optimize the network. This is good if you have a new network or when you really have a specific problem that you're trying to diagnose. The next step is often putting a box or a service provided ongoing application monitoring, reporting on things like sessions per application, flow stats, top applications per site, class of service tiers, server response time, and top users. Now this gives you a good handle on what's going on, but it really doesn't help you with the actions to fix the problem. So the next step is often traffic optimization and acceleration. This uses an appliance that will optimize your traffic for things like traffic shaping, class of service remarking, application suppression, or TCP acceleration. Moving forward, you'll begin to see some of those services move into the network, so the network will do more reporting, management, and optimization of your traffic. Finally, you'll be able to set policies and make changes more dynamically as conditions change. An example of this is really setting a policy that if Class 1 is more than 70% full, you can add additional bandwidth to Class 1. This really allows you a very cost-effective, application-aware environment. So a converged application infrastructure can reduce operating costs by enhancing application performance without additional bandwidth. The converged application infrastructure needs to support on-demand automated business applications with dynamic cross-application network policies. So what's coming next after that? Well, the next thing is a look at real-time granular application discovery so that you can see in detail what's going on your network. More real-time application control for adaptive application-sensitive performance for applications like utility computing. More detail as the proliferation of mobile applications drive more location-based data and personalized information unique to individual users. More types of acceleration for more types of applications. AT&T provides an application-aware environment that integrates, correlates, and automates application performance across network, systems, and applications. This delivers consistent performance to the end users globally, no matter who he is or what device he uses. So let's move up the stack and take a peek at services over IP. A converged IP communications infrastructure provides end users with the ability to transform the way they communicate. The days of a single conversation, a point-to-point discrete application, are really rapidly evolving to a real-time unified communications world where voice, video, conferencing, messaging will blend together for a dynamic, interoperable, real-time environment. This will also be ubiquitous, so people can have access to it anywhere they are in the world. Through the intelligence of the underlying infrastructure and the end-user devices, you'll be able to get to these applications if you're in a car, in the office, at a hotel. It really won't impact how you deal with applications. The other interesting thing is that these services will be able to hand off sessions. So if you need to leave the office while you're on a conference call, you'll be able to transfer that call to your cell phone without missing a beat. Finally, they'll be highly intelligent and integrated through presence-based technologies. Just the same way today you manage your email accounts with various rules and filters, you'll be able to do that for other kinds of communications. Specific feature sets can be uniquely configured for specific users depending on their needs. And they will really be delivered worldwide, therefore creating a tremendous opportunity for collaborating on a global basis. So this really draws us to the next step in convergence, which is really collaboration. As you begin to get all the users on one network and all the applications on one network, you can now see the users and the applications interacting in new ways. If you look at something like voice, being able to launch a call by right-clicking on any name in any application. With respect to IM, you'll now be leveraging presence capabilities to be able to find people where they are and reach them when you need it. Unified communications really allow you to blend together the different forms of communication into an integrated and coherent set of services that are standard-based and interoperable. With respect to conferencing, you really now be able to collaborate in conferencing, setting up calls automatically and tearing them down when you need to, adding people to calls automatically. All of these things will now be done in a more collaborative environment. So what this really does is leads us to the dynamic company at work. If you look at this slide, what you've got now is a headquarters location that's making a lot of different things happen at the same time. They're doing voice over IP calls at the same time they're doing book close. Book close is a critical financial activity and needs a high priority. At the same time they're doing video briefings with the stores. The regional offices unexpectedly get on a video conference call. Can you handle them as they get on? The salesperson is negotiating with a customer real time and needs to find the product manager. He or she does that through location-based technology and IMs back and forth to get the required information. Two labs teams need to get together quickly and they set up a web meeting to discuss a new project. At the same time, a supplier is collecting RFID real-time from the stores so that he can resupply those stores the next day. At the same time, the operations team is monitoring the network and adjusting it as they see problems with performance. You also see unified communications at work, how to find a person through personalization, how to use click-to-call functions to set up conference calls, how to form communities real-time. All of this is really done in the company of the future. The management of these applications is key to today's network. In a converged network, the network needs to continually tune to address the needs of the changing applications. Applications need to reside anywhere they need to on the network, and the unexpected can and will happen. You need to be able to adapt. High availability is built into the infrastructure so that business continuity goals can be met for critical applications and critical sites. AT&T is there to support both the today and the emerging world. Going forward, we continue to help our customers meet their needs by investing in our application-aware infrastructure, in VPN, and intelligence in the network, and services over IP. We continue to scale and expand our global MPLS VPN platform and network, roll out and scale new features like multicast, communities, intelligent routing. We expand VPN's application awareness to include policy management. We converge security into the core network. For services over IP, we continue to introduce new features and functionality that really bring convergence to you. So what does the future bring? Well, it really delivers more value to you and your users. MPLS VPN is a robust platform for converged services that allow cost-effective any-to-any connectivity. Convergence continues as the distinction between wireless and wireline blur, and collaboration becomes part of the convergence story. The network continues to be more application aware and can optimize to an application's evolving requirements. The result is a dynamic IT environment that is cost-effective, agile, high-performing, and robust.